My coworker kept turning the thermostat to 82 degrees Fahrenheit and snapped, "Cold people can just wear coats." So I brought in a portable sauna tent and held all my Zoom calls in a steam cloud while wearing sunglasses. The fire warden left a note the next day that started with, "We need to talk." I work in a mid-sized architectural firm in Lexington, Kentucky, the kind of place where passive-aggressive behavior festers under the surface of every open floor plan cubicle and shared kitchenette. I've been there for about 8 years, and while I wouldn't call it a toxic workplace, it definitely has its share of stubborn personalities. One of them is Darla, the woman who started this whole mess. Darla joined us 2 years ago, mid-pandemic, after working remote for a big firm in Chicago. She was in her mid-40s, loud in meetings, louder in the break room, and somehow always in charge of the thermostat despite not having any actual authority to be. She was a project coordinator, technically a peer to most of us, but she treated everyone like she was our boss. You know the type. The thermostat was mounted on the wall near her desk, and for a while no one really cared. Winter in Kentucky can be unpredictable, and we all learned to adjust. But starting last December, Darla decided that 82 degrees Fahrenheit was the only acceptable office temperature. And no, that's not an exaggeration. 82. Every damn day. The first time it happened, I noticed my skin felt clammy before 10 a.m. I checked the wall-mounted Nest, and sure enough, she'd cranked it up. I turned it back down to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, thinking it was a mistake. 2 hours later, it was back at 82 degrees Fahrenheit. This started happening every day. I'd lower it, she'd raise it. Back and forth like a slow war fought in degrees. Eventually, I approached her directly. "Hey Darla, do you mind if we keep the thermostat at 72? It's getting kind of stuffy in here." She didn't even look at me. "Cold people can wear coats. You want me to freeze just because you can't handle a little heat?" Now, I'm not a confrontational person. I prefer to let things slide if I can. But when it's affecting my work, I draw the line. I went to our office manager, Gloria, and she just sighed. It's been a point of contention. I've talked to her, but she claims it's a medical issue. Says her circulation is poor. I can't really prove otherwise. So basically, Darla weaponized an unverifiable health claim to get her way, and HR wouldn't touch it. Typical. By January, people started calling in sick more often. The place felt like a sauna, and folks were visibly uncomfortable. I saw one guy sweating through his dress shirt by 9:30 a.m. Another started bringing in ice packs to keep at his desk. One of the interns literally fainted during a team presentation. We tried sending a joint email. Darla replied all with, "If you people are so delicate, maybe you should work from home. Some of us actually have to be here." That email sealed it for me. I was done playing thermostat ping pong. If Darla wanted a sauna, I'd give her one. I did some research and ordered a portable infrared sauna tent on Amazon. It arrived the following Monday. I set it up right next to my desk. Took about 10 minutes. It's basically a silver zip-up tent that fits a folding chair inside, with a small steam generator you fill with water and plug in. It lets out a visible cloud of hot mist when it's running. I wore swim trunks underneath my work slacks, brought a towel, and at exactly 11 a.m., I walked into the tent with my laptop, zipped it up, and joined our scheduled Zoom client meeting from inside the steam cloud. I had my camera on. I wore aviator sunglasses. And I was dripping with sweat on purpose. Nobody knew what to say. My manager, Alan, blinked like I was glitching on screen. One of the clients asked if I was in the rainforest. I just said, "Nope. Just matching the office temperature." I did this every day that week. Darla didn't say a word. She avoided eye contact. Everyone else, they noticed. I started getting high fives from coworkers. Someone brought popcorn. One guy asked if he could book tent time during lunch to lose a few pounds. By Wednesday, Gloria pulled me aside. "Is this safe? You can't be running a steam generator in here." I smiled and said, "According to OSHA, the ambient temperature already classifies this office as a hot environment. I'm just preparing for it properly." She didn't push further. I think she was too tired of the thermostat war to fight both sides. But the real turning point came Thursday morning. I walked in to find a bright orange fire warden tag taped to my tent flap. It read, "We need TO talk. Unauthorized heat-producing devices found. This violates Building Safety Code 9B, combustible hazards. Remove immediately or face formal write-up." I wasn't surprised. What did surprise me was the sticky note attached underneath. It said, "Also thank you. The thermostat's been at 72 all morning. Pete, Fire Marshal 3rd floor." After the Fire Marshal's note, I half expected Darla to blow up. Instead, she went silent. The thermostat stayed at 72 degrees Fahrenheit for the next 4 days. I thought maybe the stunt worked. Maybe for once someone like her had been embarrassed into backing off. I was wrong. On Monday morning, I walked into the office to find my sauna tent gone. Not folded up. Not moved. Gone. In its place was a printout taped to the carpet that read, "Unapproved equipment has been removed by facilities. Contact HR for item recovery." I was stunned. I had checked the office guidelines. There was nothing against temporary personal comfort setups, just a vague line about fire hazards, and I'd never left it plugged in unattended. I went straight to HR. Missy, the HR generalist, looked nervous when she saw me. "We got a complaint," she said. "Apparently, your tent was creating humidity that damaged nearby electronics." "What electronics?" I asked. She paused, looked down, then said, "Darla said her wireless mouse stopped working and that she slipped on condensation near your desk." I laughed out loud. "Condensation? That floor's carpeted." Missy just raised her hands. "Look, I don't want to get involved." But she went to corporate facilities, not just me. She escalated it outside of the Lexington office. "Your tent was taken by building management. You'll have to file a claim to get it back." Of course, she went over our heads. Classic Darla move. That afternoon, I came back from lunch and found a desk fan plugged into the outlet where my sauna used to be. One of those giant industrial ones, blasting full speed toward my desk. Duct taped to the side was a sign. "If it's too cold, just bundle up." She was mocking me. Again. Except this time, she did it with corporate backing. I filed a facilities complaint. Nothing happened. I tried getting Pete the fire marshal involved again, but he said his hands were tied. Unless it's an actual fire risk, he couldn't help. The tent was technically a fire hazard, even if the steam generator was low wattage. I stewed on it for 3 days. Then I came up with something better. Every day, Darla used a wireless space heater under her desk. It wasn't a big secret. She bragged about it constantly. "My secret weapon," she called it. It was a 1,500-watt ceramic unit that looked more like a mini jet engine. That type of device is specifically banned in our building. But Darla had a friend in facilities. I found out later she went out for drinks with one of the guys who handled maintenance tickets. That's how she got away with so much. Nobody wanted to push back on her. So I dug deeper. I asked IT if there had been any network issues lately. Turns out, yes, someone's personal devices were causing wireless interference. IT didn't know who, but I had a hunch. I asked if I could report a suspicious USB device connected to the network. They were immediately interested. I casually mentioned Darla's name. By Friday, IT did a sweep of the office. Standard security audit. They found 4 unauthorized devices at her desk, 2 space heaters, a smart humidifier, a wireless foot warmer, and a mini Bluetooth speaker she used to play soft jazz during lunch. All of them were flagged and removed. The same day, an all-staff email went out. Reminder: personal heating and cooling devices must be cleared by facilities and IT. Violations may result in disciplinary action. Darla came into work Monday fuming. She stormed past my desk and hissed, "I know what you did." I didn't say a word. I just sipped my iced coffee, extra large, and turned back to my screen. But it didn't end there. The next twist came in the form of an email. Subject line: workplace harassment allegation. It was from HR. Apparently, Darla filed a formal complaint against me, said my sauna stunt was targeted intimidation, that my fan prank caused her emotional distress, and that I was creating a hostile environment through performative mockery. It was laughable, but HR takes these things seriously. I had to go in for a meeting with Missy and a regional HR rep via Zoom. I laid out everything: screenshots of Darla's emails, quotes from coworkers, and my thermostat logs. Yes, I was tracking the changes with a smart home app connected to my phone. I even showed the "if it's too cold, bundle up" sign. The regional HR guy didn't say much, but he took notes. At the end, Missy looked exhausted. She said they would look into the full situation. 3 days later, Darla was called in for her own meeting. She came out looking pale. That afternoon, the thermostat was mounted inside a locked plastic cover box, and a new policy was announced. Only facilities could adjust it, and it was now fixed at 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It felt like victory. But something told me Darla wasn't finished. And she wasn't. Darla disappeared for a full week after the thermostat box went up. At first, I thought maybe she'd finally been put on some kind of probation. A few coworkers whispered that she'd gotten written up. One person said she was suspended, but no one really knew. HR was tight-lipped, and her desk just sat there, neatly arranged, chair tucked in, like a shrine to unresolved workplace drama. Then she came back, and everything got worse. She walked in wearing a thick black scarf around her neck, even though it was 74 degrees outside. Carried a massive insulated coffee thermos. And on top of that, she now had a doctor's note pinned to her cubicle wall in a clear plastic sleeve. I could see it from my desk. It was real. I checked. It said, "Patient requires warmer ambient temperatures due to a diagnosed circulation disorder. Recommend workspace modifications or approved heating accommodations." She had gone full ADA route. Now let me be clear. I'm not someone who doubts medical stuff lightly. But I'd been watching Darla chug ice water and walk around in sleeveless tops all winter. I saw her sprint out of the building once without a jacket when her Uber arrived. She wasn't sensitive to cold. She was just obsessed with control. Still, HR's hands were tied. ADA compliance is no joke. That same day, I got another email from HR. It was a polite but firm message. Due to recent medical documentation submitted, please refrain from actions that could be interpreted as undermining necessary accommodations. Workplace respect and inclusion are essential. They were basically warning me to stand down. And then, like clockwork, the space heater returned. Bigger this time. One of those tower-style ones with a remote control. Facilities claimed it had been cleared with HR. It sat there humming under her desk, like a smug electric middle finger. And then the cherry on top? She filed a formal request to move desks. She claimed she couldn't work next to me because of emotional tension and humidity-related trauma. I swear I'm not making that up. They moved her across the office, closer to the windows, which meant she now had sunlight and her heater. And, get this, her new spot was directly under one of the shared HVAC vents. Within 48 hours, she submitted a ticket saying the air draft was triggering her nerve condition. So guess what happened next? They sealed the vent. No airflow for half the row. 3 people filed complaints. 2 asked to be moved. 1 started working from home permanently. And Darla? She acted like she'd won the lottery. I knew I couldn't outplay her in HR again. She'd figured out the system. This was no longer about temperature. It was about power. She was going to make the whole floor bend to her will, one accommodation at a time. So I decided to change the battlefield. We had a team-building off-site coming up, some stupid collaboration in action, thing at a local retreat center outside Lexington. 2 full days, mandatory attendance, and lots of icebreaker games. Normally I'd fake a dental emergency to get out of it, but this time, I had a plan. I volunteered to be on the planning committee. I suggested breakout activities, group lunches, even seating arrangements. Nobody cared, they were just glad someone else was taking charge. And I made sure Darla got assigned to my group. We ended up in a circle with 3 people she'd rubbed the wrong way over the last year, plus the intern she once made cry by calling her useless during menopause. The intern was 24. I waited until the second day, after everyone was already annoyed and over it. That's when I pulled out my secret weapon, the anonymous feedback wall. Everyone got a stack of sticky notes. I stood up and said, "Write down anything that's hurt your ability to work here. You can write more than one. No names, no judgment." I went first. My note said, "One person should not control the whole building temperature." Then I sat back. It started slow, but people joined in. I'm tired of working in a sweat lodge. My personal comfort matters too. Favoritism in facilities is killing morale. I shouldn't have to lie to HR to feel safe. By the end of the session, the wall was covered. Over 40 notes. Nobody said Darla's name, but everyone knew. Darla stood up, read the board, and left the room. She didn't come back for the rest of the retreat. When we returned to the office, things felt tense. Darla showed up, but she was quiet. She didn't say hello to anyone. Didn't touch the thermostat. No heaters. No notes. But a few days later, I noticed she was having long hallway chats with Gloria, our office manager. They kept glancing at me. Something was coming. That's when I got called into a meeting. Not HR this time, but IT. Apparently, there'd been a complaint about me using unauthorized software on my company laptop. I was stunned. I don't even download apps. But they said my machine was flagged for VPN use and remote device access. I realized what had happened. I had used a Nest-compatible app to monitor the thermostat before they locked it up. I'd connected it to my personal phone and occasionally adjusted it during meetings back when we were fighting over it. Darla had told them I was hacking the building system. It was technically against company policy. IT gave me a warning. Not a firing offense, but a big enough mark to go into my file. She wasn't just playing dirty. She was trying to get me fired. After that meeting with IT, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just staring at the steering wheel. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired, worn down. This whole thing started with a thermostat, and now I had a written warning in my file, coworkers avoiding me like I was contagious, and Darla slowly circling my job like a vulture. She'd managed to twist the rules, play the system, and turn me into the villain while sitting pretty behind a fake medical note and a space heater. But the thing about people like Darla? They always push too far. And she finally did. It happened 3 weeks later. Our firm was working on a major contract with the city of Lexington, helping redesign several public housing buildings. It was a huge deal, millions in funding, federal grant oversight, public visibility. I wasn't on the core design team, but I'd helped write the planning documentation, and I'd sat in on early-stage budget meetings. One morning, Alan, the manager I report to, called me in. "Can you check something for me? The latest proposal looks off. The HVAC specs don't match what we submitted last quarter." I pulled up the files. The spreadsheet had been changed. The updated spec sheet called for custom-built, high-output heating units for all ground floor units. I raised an eyebrow. Who added this? Alan frowned. Darla did. She told the city this was part of our new Comfort First strategy. I looked closer. The units she listed were from a vendor in Illinois. I recognized the name from an earlier discussion, her cousin's company. They weren't even certified for multifamily housing systems. That's when everything clicked. Darla was pushing for custom heating specs not because of some medical reason, but because she stood to profit. Her cousin ran a small HVAC business that was barely hanging on. She saw our city contract as a golden ticket. And she had the perfect cover story: her disability, her so-called circulation issues, her fake ADA claims. She was building a personal empire on lies. I took it all to Alan. I showed him the email chains, the vendor information, the old budget files. I didn't say anything dramatic. I just let the paper trail speak for itself. He went straight to the directors. And that's when the avalanche started. By the end of the week, Darla was pulled into an emergency meeting with legal, HR, finance, and procurement. The city had already begun reviewing our design drafts, and someone on the committee flagged the heating specs as non-standard and suspicious. Our firm could have been blacklisted from public contracts if it had gone through. Darla tried to spin it as an innocent suggestion. But they had her emails, her timestamps, her edits, her connections. That Friday, she was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. By Monday morning, her desk was cleared out. She didn't resign. She didn't get to do that whole graceful exit-waving goodbye routine. She was fired, not just for ethics violations, but for submitting fraudulent vendor recommendations that directly benefited her own family. It hit the local news 2 weeks later. Local architectural firm cuts ties with coordinator after conflict of interest discovered in city project. Her name wasn't in the headline, but the article named her in the second paragraph. Her picture was online by noon, and the fallout didn't stop there. 3 months later, I saw her at a Kroger. She looked completely different. No makeup, dressed down, alone. She saw me, hesitated like she was going to say something, then just turned and walked away. A mutual friend filled me in later. Her husband, who worked in local real estate, was furious when the news broke. He hadn't known anything about the HVAC scam. Said she tarnished the family name. He moved out a week later. Filed for divorce a month after that. Her adult daughter, who had just landed a job at a nonprofit downtown, was mortified when people started asking, "Hey, are you related to that woman in the papers?" She unfollowed her mother on social media. Publicly. Darla lost more than her job. She lost her reputation, her marriage, her professional network. And worst of all, she lost the control she so desperately craved. Because you can bully coworkers, you can fake doctors' notes, and you can twist the system for a while. But once your lies start hitting public money and city contracts, the house of cards crashes down fast. As for me, it took time, but things got better. HR removed the warning from my file after everything came out. Alan personally apologized. Gloria, the office manager who'd always looked the other way, actually thanked me. "I should have done more," she said. "I'm sorry you had to go through all that." People in the office started joking again, laughing, bringing in fans during the summer without fear. One guy even got me a coffee mug that said, "I survived Thermostat Gate." I don't know if I felt proud. but I definitely felt lighter. I never got my sauna tent back. I didn't need it. I got my peace.